When you claim you're African, you're going to get your mind back.
If a generalized black woman is doing this and being this, that is that is irresponsible.
No,
when you claim you're African, you're going to get your mind
showing
back.
me,
Black and proud. Claim you're African, black and
I
proud.
think that if
when you claim you're
as a
African, you're going to
person
get your
who
mind
has
back.
a page,
What is the status of people
Claim you're
with half
African, black and proud. I'm telling you. When you claim you're African, you're going to get your mind back.
That's why I was laughing, because
Black and proud. Claim you're African, black and
I'm not saying the framework doesn't do a thing, but
become a part of it.
We've been
Embrace it.
to black men
Become a
the
part of it.
masters, being
Embrace
in the
it.
control. We
Become a part of it.
Only
Embrace it.
That those to me one of the
Become a
best
part
stories I've
of
ever
it.
heard.
Embrace it. When you claim you're African, you're going to get your mind
that
back.
mental growth takes
Black
place.
and
You've
proud.
been misled by leadership,
Black
for
and
instance,
proud.
that
I'm
think
telling
you can consume.
When you claim you're African, you're going to get your mind back. Black and proud. Claim you're African. Black and proud. I'm telling you.
okay. I think I should be good now. Let me know if I'm good now, family. Thanks for letting me know. But again, peace and power, family. Welcome back to Conversations with Dr. Daw, something like that. Saturday edition. You know what I mean? And I was saying before that has been quite a day. I appreciate it, Mr. K, Mr. Shavers, and all those who joined us so far. Make sure you like this video, you share this video, subscribe to this video. And for those who will come later, make sure you hype this video. Make sure you hype this video. But yeah, it's been quite a day. I've been in communications with quite a few people. And Mr. K, can I dance? What do you think, Mr. K? Hey, Mr. K, what do you think, Mr. K? Can I dance? Now, can I dance or do I dance? Those are two different questions. You know what I mean? Do I do public displays of dancing? You know what I mean? Look, you go ahead and take your guess and you let me know. What you think, right? What you think? What do you think? Mr. Shavers, what you think? But family, appreciate you all joining me today. Today's title is entitled An Afrocentric Analysis versus Pseudo-Africentrism. FBA, ADOS, Freedmen, Feminism, and Victimhood Politics. Yeah, we got to talk about that, family. The victimhood politics is definitely plaguing our community, and there's so much going on. Even yesterday, after being on a episode yesterday over on another platform, I tell you, man, one thing you got to know about people who have been through a lot, especially those who have experienced high levels of trauma. What we can do, especially in this particular country here we call the United States, is we can play victim. We can play oppressed. I'm not saying like there's no oppression, but I'm saying that the oppression at some point becomes the everybody becomes your oppressor. And I kind of want to talk about that. And I want to show you some clips today because I've been talking about it. And to me, this happens basically when we don't have a strong African-centered or cultural analysis, and more specifically, an African-centered analysis. Let's see what Sam Shaver says. Who in the chat wants Doc to cut the rug? Mr. K say, my guess, you can dance your ass off if you want to, sir. I think I could too if I let myself do it, right? Yeah, I agree. I can move a little bit. I can't, I can, I think I could do a little bit of something, something. So what makes you think that, Mr. K the Beard? I don't know, but family, make sure you come in, like the video, share, subscribe, hype it up for those who are coming in later. I'm going to have a discussion. I have so many pieces of information that I want to talk to. I don't think I'm gonna get through it all, and I don't plan on being here that long tonight. So I'm going to try to get out of here. I'm not going to be on here long today, family. I'm going to try. I'm not going to be the new Leonard Arnold, right? But okay, Mr. K, I take that you have swag in how you speak. I was on a I appreciate that. I was on there was a platform, right? That me and Dr. Ball are sharing the video. We are, what is it called? Collaborating on a video. And in that collaboration, some of his viewers are watching the video, and one of them said, well, I forgot what you say, homiletics or something like that. Speaking like he thinks I speak like a preacher, I guess, in other words, right? Hermeneutics and the words homiletics or something like that, right? It has him not trusting me. And I get that to a degree, but I think that I feel, well, let's say he's skeptical or what have you. And I get that because I hear people talk a certain way and I'm like, But typically it's not because they speak with a certain cadence. It seems like they force it, or they do it in a way where they are actually performing. I promise you, I'm not going to be hardly performing. But the reality is, there is a way that I do speak because of certain traditions, actually, some of the African-centered traditions, and that's what I want to talk about today. Yeah, that's it. Thank you for the word. Yeah, Mr. Homiletics. I think I can, if I can see it. Yes. You know what I mean? So he's saying, I guess I took it as a compliment, but he said that basically, whatever the homiletics or what have you, the way that I speak has him looking at me suspect. And I can't, keep looking. I mean, I get it, because Umar Johnson and people like him have utilized certain oratory patterns and styles to kind of manipulate us and draw us in. So, I mean, I'm not mad at it, but I get it. So nonetheless, Afrocentric analysis versus Pseudo-Africentrism, Africentrism, FBA, ADOS, Freedmen, Feminism, and Victimhood Politics. That's what we want to talk about today. And many times, as I always say, we mean well. Many times we mean well. But I often find that there's problems when we don't have an African-centered or cultural analysis from our point of view, our way, our Injia. And I'm going to go in this book here, Afrocentricity, really quickly, by Dr. Malefi Kiasante, to set the frame for today. And I'm just going to let it work out today as it will. I'm not overly planned today. And we'll see how it goes. As they say, let the ancestors kind of join us, in the energy and all that type of thing. But I took a picture out of the book. The page, I don't have, page 64, it looks like, and page 65. The book is Afrocentricity, the theory for social change. Afrocentricity, the theory for social change. This is the revised and expanded edition. And what Dr. Asante has written here in a section called consciousness is that there are two aspects of consciousness. One, he says, toward oppression, and two, towards victory. And I always speak about that. It's like we have to really be clear and we have to understand things with some type of framework, some type of model, or some level of collective consciousness that he also speaks about in this particular book. And he calls for what Baba Imhotep called for a few weeks ago when he was on my show, that there's a need for national collective consciousness. Malcolm X called for this. So many of our speakers call for this need for collective consciousness. And not that everybody has to agree totally with everything, but we have to have some framework. And I think to a great degree, that collective consciousness is really the way of understanding the world, the way that we view the world, the way that we engage in the world, the way that our political way, our cultural way. I'm saying you can utilize these words together in a sense, because our cultural way must be political. Our political way must include culture. And I argue and I maintain that many times we struggle because we fall either too heavy on one end of the spectrum or the other. And to me, from an African-centered perspective, it has to be all included. And if we don't include it, then we set ourselves up for failure with all these different identity frameworks. I struggle and I challenge these different identities. And no, they're not harmless. And I think we have to pay more attention to these things, to these frameworks, to our political positions. And I still don't agree with this idea that, people will find their most radical form of the identity that they sign up for, because these identities that people fall within, and they will continue to, they actually serve as hurdles and barriers to seeking more radical political identities. And again, I want us to keep in mind, when I say identity, I am not speaking of this idea that this is just a generic label, or a label that one agrees to identify themselves without understanding that there are political and ideological underpinnings for all of these identities. And even if the person knows it or not, whether they're conscious or not, that these different identities have political persuasion and political the goal, it is a political invasion on our minds. So we have to be very careful. I'm saying every identity. And I understand why some of these identities, we kind of step back from them. And again, as a brother, I know that there's ones that are more risky to really talk about. And a lot of us won't go there. I tell you, I will go there because I love my people. And you don't have to agree with me. It's okay. But I do understand, and even just being a black man or a black person, there are identities that we don't want to discuss, or just people who love people in these different, quote unquote, communities or identity frameworks that we believe fit within these ways of identifying, we don't want to insult them. But again, I want to be clear that the identity is different than the individual. The identity category is something that was socially constructed for a reason. And I argue that many times that those reasons are political. So there's ideology that creates it, there's worldview that creates it or necessitates it. So keep in mind, there's no generic identities without some social, political necessity. They didn't come out of nowhere, and they have an aim and a purpose. Now, people can identify in certain categories and not even know the political ideology or ideas that go with it. You got what I'm saying? People can identify, like, for example, again, an example would be many people who find themselves in the, let's say, the manosphere. They might have found a place where they hear people that are saying certain things that they can resonate with, and they might have found a channel that is less problematic. But the problem is, now there might be a space, but I don't believe that the manosphere was created with a social, political, cultural, African-centered type of framework when I'm speaking about the Black manosphere. And I think, I could be wrong, that there was a greater manosphere, which we find in white America, that are very conservative in their politics, that these particular men Black men have gone and created their own versions of that without, from what I've seen, any real African-centered or Black cultural analysis. And I'm saying a Black cultural analysis has to include that which is tantamount or similar to what we call an African-centered analysis. And again, I'm talking about a real African-centered analysis, not this pseudo-Africentrism. So again, I'm going to use the word Afrocentric, Africentric, and African-centered today to mean the same thing. There's argument about what means what, this type of thing and that type of thing, but I'm using them synonymously. Yeah, it's getting late, y'all. I'm trying to. So I want you to follow me here. We're going to just take a little bit of we're going to take time to really look at this, because we really lack a political analysis. And I mean, especially the political and cultural, what are to me both political and of necessity. So Dr. Malefikiri-Santi again writes here, there are two aspects of consciousness, one towards oppression and two towards victory. When a person is able to verbalize the condition of oppression, he exhibits the earliest consciousness of his or her oppression. So a lot of us can do that. You know what I mean? A lot of us are excellent at that, is what Dr. Sante would say here. He says the most elemental form of consciousness and is found, he said, this is the most elemental form of consciousness, meaning this consciousness of oppression. He says, and it is found in speeches, poems, plays, and lives in the lives of millions of people, I guess, who parade as conscious individuals. So there's people who walk around and parade as if they're conscious. But let me read this all together. This is the most elemental form of consciousness and is found in the speeches, poems, plays, and lives of a million people who parade as conscious individuals. He says they know neither the correct expression of consciousness nor the damage they do, to their own persons by practicing a fractured consciousness. A fractured consciousness. They need, let me say that again, so we can kind of like work on this together. Y'all talk to me in the chat and help me out here. They know neither the correct expression of consciousness nor the damage they do to their own persons by practicing a fractured consciousness. See, again, and this is what I'm speaking about. See, when he speaks about a fractured consciousness, keep in mind that a fractured consciousness, what we call in mental health, or those who are trauma-based academics or theorists or researchers or practitioners, we understand that a person's consciousness is fractured as a result of their trauma. And many times having them hold on to that what Dr. Asante is calling here oppression, a consciousness towards oppression. So again, this is what we see in many of these conversations we have, whether it be FBA, whether it be feminism, whether it be Freedmen, whether it be any other form of victimhood politics. And I'm going to show you some case examples later, because this is very detrimental in our community. Let's see what y'all saying here. Let's see what y'all saying. Reclaimer NYC says you're, I don't know what he's saying you're to, but that's what he's saying. No Face Southeast says, I guess that's Southeast. SE. Big up, people. Salute Dr. Dog. Peace. No Face. Beat Active says FBA is a new social political label made up by Tariq, I'm not going to say the first part, and his FBA cult enforcers, aka the House Pets lineage. And their agenda is to lie, brainwash, and manipulate Black American youth. And I'm going to show you that exactly what you're saying here today, Beat Active, is exactly what's going on. And I'm going to show you the confusion, because I'm going to build off of what I spoke to last week. And I guess Be Active goes on and said, hold on, I might have skipped one. It says, AKA the next generation of voters vote Republicans. And then goes on, AKA the generation of voters. Okay, wrong one. Why is this not coming up? Okay, I guess I got to take this one down and then bring this one up. Republicans, or to easily get them allied with other house pets ideologies in the future, or for whatever the pets house masters need them for, whatever agenda in the future. Okay, so we're going to look at a little bit of that today, even, which I think is essential to what we're talking about. Let me get back. I'm going to read this. I'm going to get through it, and then I'm going to go into some videos. I don't know what order I'm going to do it, but I'm going to get to those videos to kind of have some analysis. And you guys and gals, please, please participate in the chat. And even if you want to come up, I have the link in the chat. So again, no, let me just move forward. I'll read it again. They know neither the correct expression of consciousness nor the damage they do to their own persons by practicing a fractured consciousness. Now, this comes from, again, family, out of the book Afrocentricity, one of our dear elders and Baba's Dr. Malefi Kidi Asante. And what I'm saying is, when was the initial version of this book was written in 2000 and this is probably not the initial version actually. This was the this one, let's say this one is 2003. We're in 2026 now. I can't remember the initial publication of this book, but I know it's a lot older than that. Probably the 80s, if I recall. But what they have here, he says, in fact, they are often admired as being examples of conscious individuals. Thus, you have a sister saying in a seminar that the white man will never let us be free. He's evil, and we know it. She is conscious of oppression, but not victory. So again, what I would argue and posit that when people are conscious of oppression or have a consciousness towards oppression, they tend to be victims and have a victimized and defeatist mentality. But the problem is, it just doesn't stop there. It goes into every area of their life generally. I'm going to show you how this type of mindset impacts our communities. And I'll be real honest. Lots of times it's mental illness. And this community creates certain levels of mental illness. And these become the people who speak out and that we follow. In fact, that is what Dr. Asante is really saying here. He says, in fact, they are often admired as examples of conscious individuals. Thus, you have, okay, I'm gonna say it again. Thus, you have a sister, I'm gonna say, or brother saying in a seminar that the white man will never let us be free. He's evil, and we know it. He or she is conscious of oppression, but not victory. The examples are numerous. Take the brother who wrote the play with slaves being whipped on the decks of the slave ships, or the entertainer who gives time to the local church that fights against racism, or the poem that sings of our intractable sorrow, or the young child who recognizes the differences between economic positions of her parents and white parents. They are all conscious of oppression. Now, some of you might say, well, I mean, those are facts. He's not saying those are not facts. But I would like to extend it to say that many times when you have this consciousness of oppression or a consciousness towards oppression, what ultimately happens is you also fall into being a victim in such a way that you will take any type of facts, the factual information or that which is not factual, and have it be your truth. And it supports a defeated and a defeatist type of personality. And people who typically operate in these realms exclusively, they might not say exclusively, but you can see it predominantly, they are really good at pointing the fingers at whitey But the problem is that they're just as good as pointing it at the black man or the black woman or the black child. And they see all these people as causing them hell and oppression, that they could just change. And these people are our enemies. And in fact, people often who have these black and white ways of seeing things refuse to see what Dr. Sante would later call a consciousness towards victory. They tend to get stuck there. So let's go back into the book. And again, this is to aid us and help us in our collective rewiring. Because our consciousness has been fragmented. Because our consciousness has been fragmented, we have to gather the pieces and pull them back together. So again, we have to have a consciousness rewiring. We have to rewire and gather the pieces so that we can see a whole and complete picture, which I also call healing through history. A healing through history is necessary. Again, as Dr. Sante speaks about a consciousness towards victory. He goes on to say, I can know what is going on with the society and yet not know how to get out of the predicament. General knowledge is no substitute for specificity. The high schooler who wears cornrows or writes stories about black people may exhibit consciousness of oppression, but that is not consciousness of victory. See, to people, I must be clear. To even acknowledge victories to a person who is stuck in what I call a pedestalized perpetual space of victimhood, it becomes a threat to their being. Because there's more power from their standpoint as being oppressed and victims than it is for them to acknowledge the power that they have and the capability they have to fight back. And even acknowledge that they have fought back and won. That is a part of the mental trauma that we see in our community. Dr. Asante is saying here that we value these people even more many times. And honestly, if I had to kind of like really speak to this, these people many times are some of the greatest artists that we find, the greatest playwrights, the greatest people who write and recite poems, some of the best spoken word artists, some of the best thespians, some of the best at like just being creative and all these type of things, because the reality is there's some hurt and pain that's deep in there. But without proper framing, that hurt becomes perpetual inside of them, almost permanent, and hence it then is blown through other people. That trauma, that hurt, that pain, in fact, they get lifted up for that trauma. They get rewarded for being having a consciousness towards oppression, and people actually gravitate towards them, so they become rewarded for being stuck. And then we create stuck cultures, stuck groups, stuck identities, stuck cults. Hence, we have versions of FBA, ADOS, Manosphere, Pretendians, feminists, all types of hurt people, reactionary Black nationalists. See, and again, I want to keep in mind what I'm suggesting here is that even the research shows and supports that you can be politically conscious, but without a cultural analysis, without, and moreover, within our communities, without an African-centered analysis or a cultural intervention, your mind and your psychology, your mental health is compromised. So again, those who laugh at and belittle that which is what we call African-centered thought, they are struggling. I see it too often, where we think we're these political geniuses, and then we say, well, you know, a dashiki is not going to do this for you. I mean, I think we all said some things like that out of frustration, but again, we know that that is not a real cultural analysis. That is a very surface cultural analysis, and that is a performative aspect of culture, which is in of itself not even bad, because we need it all. Because the accoutrements or the aesthetic is also essential to our healing and liberation. See, out of our frustrations, we say, well, that is not going to help, or this is not going to help, or and this is what we need. But we are whole people, and whole people need a multifaceted approach. Let's see what y'all talking about in the chat. All right, so we're saying in the chat, okay. Peace, cuz I see you joined the building. Proper Perspective in the building, family. Make sure y'all go over there and follow him at the Proper Perspective. Yes, Mr. K says, also Dr. Dennis Assar Winkler, they are addicted to conspiracy theories due to the developing addicted personalities like Amos Wilson once spoke of. Absolutely, brother, Mr. K. That is facts. That is true and real facts. Divine Allah said, this episode is peace. I can go for a read along. Just what I needed. Peace, brother Divine God. I appreciate that affirmation as well, so that we, because I know sometimes we like the faster pace type of experiences. Proper Perspective says it's like willing to step into a time machine and go backwards. I think I might have missed what that was about. They writing, working out, study, share, zero study. Dr. Dennis Assar Winkler. I'm going to get Mr. K to say Dr. Assar one day, or Dr. Daw. Do you think Tariq Nasheed has gone through trauma? Absolutely. Pain is magnetizing. I think trauma bonds. Yes, so they have a collective fantasy even, or collective trauma going on. That there's like a social collective trauma that's going on, but it feels good to people. See, the thing we must know about people is that even when they complain, when they cry, when they scream, when they point fingers, that is them feeling like they have some form of control. And they typically don't want to practice discipline. They try to operate like they're coming from this higher level of morality, but in essence, what happens is they're really hurting. And I'm going to show you some examples of that today. And these are some case examples. None of this is about a clinical diagnosis. It's about social issues in our community, that which we see the patterns in our community. But these people are social influences, quite typical, quite in alignment with what Dr. Asante put here when he spoke about these people, our brothers and sisters. Let me just be clear. They are often the ones who are rewarded for this level of consciousness, this level of stuckness. He says they know neither the correct expression of consciousness nor the damage they do to their own persons by practicing a fractured consciousness. In fact, they are often admired as being examples of conscious individuals. So again, when I say like we don't have to recreate these wheels, our elders, our scholars have already spoken to these things, and it is our job to take these concepts and further them, not to continue to recreate wheels when our elders have already done great works. It's for us to refine them. And as Dr. Naeem Akbar, what I showed last week, and Dr. Wade Noble said, and if they were wrong, put them in the ash can of history. Born Nether Lord Allah says, peace and longevity to all. I see the good doctors back at it again in my O'Shea Duke Jackson voice. Peace, dear brother, I believe. Okay, y'all, I think y'all getting a little too many comments for me to go over all of them. Yeah, let me get back to it. I'll try to come back. So let's see where we are. I know we're at the top, and it says here. Let me start back at the bottom and go back in it. The high schooler who wears cornrows or writes stories about Black people may exhibit a consciousness of oppression, but that is not consciousness of victory. Consequently, deliverance is postponed until their victorious historical will. Let me read that again. It says, consequently, deliverance is postponed until there is a victorious historical will. Yes, we will continue to find ourselves in a place of being stuck in certain levels of consciousness if we don't really have a more accurate understanding of history. We will continue to be stuck, that is collectively and individually. And when a people feel like they are hopeless and powerless, that is where they stay. Where they stay in that frame of a consciousness of oppression, where these people did this to me and they owe me a thing, it keeps us stuck. There becomes a certain type of personality is created, what creates a stuck, pointing the finger type of person, and we see it ravaging our communities today. Because at some point, when we're stuck there, the white man is no longer enough. It then comes into our households, into our organizations, into our businesses. That is why Dr. Naeem Akbar says that we have achieved as much as we can up until this point on the battlefield. We fought battles on every field, every terrain, whether that be war, physical war, whether that be political war, and all of that. He said, but now what we have left to do is we need to get to a level of consciousness. We need to have what Dr. Santis called a consciousness of victory. What Baba Imhotep called a few weeks ago a national consciousness. What Dr. Amos Wilson calls, what does Dr. Amos Wilson call it, y'all? Even to the degree of consciousness and also an ideology, which I am calling also an Afrocentric way of understanding, engaging, being, intervening. In an African-centered way of being is political. It is not just a mere putting on of dashikis or lighting incense or changing your names. These are all essential pieces because the war is also in our minds. And all identity is in your mind. Identity, that doesn't mean there's no physical characteristics that come with these things. But even those things are social agreements, social constructs. And when I say social construct, let me be clear. It does not mean that a thing is not real. Social construct means that there has been some agreement, whether or not everybody agrees with it or not. Example, FBA is a new fangled social construct. ADOS, a new fangled social construct. All of them, feminism, manospiric ideology, doctrine, and foolishness. I'm not saying, and let me be clear, that there's nothing that we could learn or take from what they're saying, because I think we should listen to all of them, because somewhere in their communication you will find their pain. The problem is we have to understand their pain, but we also have to keep in mind that when people are perpetual victims or pedestalized victims, that their pain is exaggerated. They're very hyperbolic. Their pain they're very, for the most part, they're self-centered. Hence, you have little groups that become very ethnocentric. And I'm not saying ethnocentric in a healthy way. I am saying even to the degree where the ethnocentrism becomes intra-group ethnocentrism. And not just ethnocentrism as a race first idea, but within the race, we're talking about Black Americans against Black people in the Caribbean, and Black people in the Caribbean, this one from St. Lucia, and this one from Trinidad, this one from Tobago, go figure, this one from Haiti, and this one from the Dominican Republic, go figure, they have these ideas, these identity categories that have been used, which have been created, and they believe in them so much that you can live on the same goddamn island and still be at odds with one another. The same thing that happens, and that is the same thing that continues to happen, and this is very anti-African centered. Afrocentrism and Pan-Africanism, the goal is to heal and help you see things as a wider collective, not these hurt and traumatized fragments. I think it said Malcolm X said it's going to take a black nationalistic approach to defeat a white nationalistic approach. See, the thing is, if we're operating at a calm state, at a more less fragmented state, a less hyper-aroused state, I don't think we can argue against that. I don't think we can argue against the divide and conquer that we participate in daily. And again, I also want to throw on the other side that just because a person holds other people accountable or is doesn't mean that we're fragmented, because that's another aspect of the trauma that we see. Anything that looks like disagreement then becomes what we believe is more of the fragmentation. But that is not the case. It does take some accountability for those who are still operating in these fragmented places. And on a psychological level, we must keep in mind that even when people are, when they've been through developmental trauma, what they will call complex trauma, or, and even complex PTSD, which we can call complex post-traumatic slave disorder, slave syndrome, and whatever other type of post-traumatic, is that takes a certain level of reparenting. Let me say that again. When people have these developmental complex forms of trauma due to their upbringing and what they experience developmentally on that individual level, the therapist becomes somewhat of what they call a secure figure in that person's life. And the therapist has to have the ability to be stable and also hold that person accountable. Be able to hold space, but also hold space with that person. Because people with these personality characteristics that we speak about, they don't want people holding them accountable, but that is what they need. And when you hold them accountable, what they will default to is that you have harmed them. When you show them some truth about unity, and when you show them how what they're doing is participating in a maladaptive process of keeping them stuck in the trauma that they are in on an individual and on a collective communal level or societal level, they resist it because it feels like it is a threat to them psychologically. But that is what they need. So people will push back. So again, let me keep it very clear and funky that I understand that people will push back against me and their flying monkeys will come too. And what do I mean by flying monkeys? Their comrades, the people that support them, the people that idealize them, the people who are in the collective trauma with them. I love them. But look, I realize, and I take my role as a paternalistic type of person, that you don't have to like me. You don't have to like me. But I love us. I love us enough that if you're frustrated with me because of me holding you accountable, if you can be held accountable, I'll deal with it. Because I understand the psychological state of people individually and us collectively. And when I think I've done something so great, when I think I've done something so brilliant, I promise you that our African-centered, Pan-African scholars have already spoke about these things. And they have shown on numerous occasions through various studies that culture is a remedy. That culture is a remedy. And we must keep that in mind. So getting back to this page here, y'all. This is why we can see people look the part of African consciousness, but those actions defy Africa. You hear me? You hear me? And then, so these are the things, this is a training that we've experienced. These are the training, this is the training that I've undergone. And then we ask people the question, how do you, why do we identify these things? Let me read that again. That is why, let me see what he says here. He says, this is why we can see people who look the part of African consciousness, but defy Africa. You know, it's a lot of mixed up stuff going on in our community right now. You dig what I'm saying? The idea that blackness is an ethical idea has not yet become real to them. I would say Umar Johnson all day long. All day long. See, because to be African-centered, there's values and principles and what we often talk about in these different spaces. There's a value system. There's something that says when you're on code and when you're off code. It's not that difficult. We have too much literature to show us and guide us in what is on code and what is off code. We could never say from an African-centered perspective that we don't have the literature to support what is African-centered, what is not. And I'm not saying, when I say African-centered, please understand that I am not saying that these are ancient principles that have nothing to do with us today. I am saying those very principles that people like Dr. Molefi Kidi-Asante, Dr. Amos Wilson, Dr. Marimba Ani, Dr. Nana Patricia Newton spoke about. And I got to be very clear when I name some people, because everybody that we read is not African-centered. Everybody that we read in African-centered spaces, sometimes we're reading that from a political lens or a race-based analysis. But we have to also, as we read this literature, understand that not all of our great scholars possess what I would call a critical African-centered lens. I would say that two of my favorites would be, so many of them, Dr. Clark, Dr. Amos Wilson. I'll give you my favorites, and I might miss some. I'll get the ones that come off my head right now. Dr. Amos Wilson, Dr. Clark, Dr. Marimba Ani. I think, let me leave it right there for a moment. I'll leave it right there for a moment. And I would argue, and I maintain to study these three seriously, because they have like a analysis that is real holistic. But also go into the others, the way Dr. Wade Nobles and Dr. Akbars and so on and forth. And I'm saying those other three because they have a political analysis. Does that mean that there's nothing they have that we can't challenge? No, it doesn't mean that. Now, this person comes in and says I'm degrading FBA, and I think they just came through the door. And I didn't even say, since they've been here, I don't think I even said anything about FBA. So, That's what I'm talking about right there. That is what we call a victimized. This is the example. I might not even have to get to my clips. It's an example of what I'm talking about. Degrading us foundational Black Americans again every day. Every day. So again, this is black and white and a made up analysis. I have not degraded foundational Black Americans, and I don't do it every day, even. Most foundational Black Americans weren't African-centered when we went. Most foundational Black Americans weren't African-centered when we went by African-American. So, I mean, nothing what I said, I mean, I didn't know why that is essential. I'm the same person I was when I called myself African American. Nothing changed. Okay. I'm gonna not spend too much time on this person. Mr. Shaver says Doc didn't degrade FBA. Stop it. I absolutely called them my brothers and sisters. You rewind the video and then you got back and you watched all of that video up into this point in time, and somehow you found that out. Okay. All right. Well, please name the degradation, please. Ursa Mahan. So let's be real clear though with the tactic here. I don't know if this person is right. I'm not sure if this person is right. Can you all hear me? FBA does have, especially if I use it the way that you use it, and that's what I want to speak about. FBA absolutely has trauma. Black people in America collectively are experiencing trauma. The problem is that you haven't even realized that yet. And perhaps that's why you call yourself FBA. And I'm not sure that what you call FBA is the same thing I call FBA, but I'll go with your 43 million or so, which is not real. Thank you, Beat Active. So I'm gonna move on. I'm not going to stick there because I do have quite a bit to get through today to kind of make my point, and I don't want to stay here too long. So let me keep moving. So it's 9:39. What time did I get started, y'all? Oh my God, time is moving. Did I get started around 8:30? 8:30. Oh yeah, I guess it's moving as fast as I think I came on a little bit after 8:30, but I'm going to read this and I'm gonna get through it, then I'm gonna move to some videos. All right. This is why we can see people who look the part of African consciousness, but whose actions defy Africa. The idea that blackness is an ethical idea has not yet become real to them. That is true. You know what I mean? That is facts. The victorious attitude shows the Africans on the slave ship winning. It teaches that we are free because we choose to be free. Our choice is the determining factor. No one can be your master until you play the part of slave. A mighty, victorious consciousness grounded in Afrocentricity. And I think many of us can debate some of these things, but I agree with it holistically in the sense that this is what I'm speaking to. Because just like I'll give you another example of what I'm talking about when we speak about gender politics, which in most cases, at this current state, is a very victimized a consciousness or conscious of oppression type of framework. Because some people walk around and if you want to be identified as something, And people don't necessarily see it that way, but you put all your energy into trying to get them to see you. Like for example, as a, like, for example, if this person is what I identify as typically a male, but then they want everybody to see them as not a gendered being, and they fight so hard for that. I mean, I think that's a very victimized way of looking at things. Because if you were true to your identity, you don't need nobody outside of you to approve it. You don't need anybody to approve of your blackness. You don't need anybody to approve of your maleness. You don't need anybody to approve that you are a human being with ideas, intellect, culture, whatever it is you have. You don't need people to agree with you on that. You don't have to beg for that. You don't have, like, you can ask people to do it, but the reality is they don't have to give it to you. And guess what? You still be okay regardless. But what we do, we spend so much time on trying to get people, we're trying to appeal to people's morality, which many of them may or may not have, or the fact that they can think how they want to think. I'm not trying to appeal to FBA people or the ones who are lost in a way that, identify as FBA. I will not. What I do want to identify is that we unify in ways that is going to be healthy for our community, or that we, as Dr. Asante speaks in this particular book, that we derive at a place of collective consciousness, that we get closer. And he said there's diversity, or there's flexibility in that collective consciousness. But the reality is, when I see people begging for other people to see them certain ways, to me, that is very oppressive. I mean, that is very victimized. That is so close to what he is calling here a consciousness of oppression, or I will call a consciousness of victimhood, where when the people that I work with, those who struggle the most with those victimized and traumatized, and I'm saying they've been through some things, but what keeps them stuck from healing is that they're looking for others to change outside of themselves, outside of them. They're looking to force people to respect them in ways that they don't have to. But the problem is, you can ask, but if they don't give it to you and you feel like you're less than as a result, that is not their problem. That is your problem. That becomes our problem. And I'm going to move past this right here. Maybe I'll pick back up. But what I want to do is go into some videos and just show you how this is showing up in our youth. And and you can see the way that they look at the world. Now, this video right here, now I think I'll start out with this one. It came across my timeline. Someone actually text this to me. I'm gonna put it on 1.25 family, and let's see where we are. Let's see what y'all saying in the chat room real quick before I keep moving. Brother Kerry, what it is, man? Yes, Brother Kerry, I see that. Well, okay, so I can hear you, Doc. I'm a speed reader. You're a speed reader? Come on, man. You're a speed reader. And so that helps you. You read what I put up there, and you found that to be damaging to FBA. Again, that's why you fit within that group called FBA. And again, it is not the majority identity for Black people here in America whose parentage and ancestry came through chattel enslavement in this country. That is a small subset of the African American population, which is the more recognized and more appropriate designation at this point in time. But let's get to this guy. Let me show you. Just keep in mind the things I've spoken about. And they come across as strong, but I want you to hear the hurt and pain in them. So again, these are my brothers and sisters. But again, they have a consciousness towards oppression. And to them, everybody's oppressing them. Women, men, children, African immigrants, Caribbean immigrants. Like, I'm going to show you, and then I'm going to show you, and I'm going to get up out of here. I'm not going to show you all the things I have. I'm going to show you a few, but I'm going to show you how one person, and sadly, is a sister, how this mentality is actually haunting her and her life in various ways. And I really do feel sorry for the sister. I mean, and I'm showing the video because she's online, just like this brother is online. And he's showing, you can see it, like even with the whole suit jacket look and how he's trying to come across as something. And it, to me, is very saddening. So now y'all tell me FBA don't have an ideology, but this guy who also is a freedman, who considers himself a freedman, another one of them that speaks to the ideology that the others say they don't have. I'm glad that some of them are honest about it being an ideology. You dig what I'm saying? So it is an ideology, and I maintain that there's no.
What's up, Naomi?
Yeah, sorry, I wasn't agreeing with you.
You said you was agreeing?
No, I wasn't.
So he's going to talk to a sister, and I thought this is not a video, but I'm also going to show you the patterns that I showed you last week, which also, to me, most of these FBA people continue to look like they're rejects, or they're like, you know what? It goes back to what Dr. Asante said. Let me just go back here real quick. It goes back to what Dr. Asante said here. And this book is written maybe 20, 30 years ago. And he says, it is correct to see it merely, hold on, wrong one. He said, this is why we can see people who look the part of African consciousness, but whose actions defy Africa. See, our ancestors and elders already spoke about this stuff because they just changed the game up a little bit, put some letters to it. These were the people that we've already saw and we know that are lost and hurt. They just have come together under the umbrella of hurt people. FBA, ADOS, Manosphere, Freedmen, feminists. And I'm not saying that they don't have any points again. There are things we can learn from them and things we should learn from them, because not all their arguments are incorrect, because we can constantly improve. It's their interpretations and their exaggeration and their hyperbolic ways of expressing them and seeing these things. They're very hyperbolic. Hyperbole. All right, let's get to it.
Oh, okay. I know that. I caught that. You want to type it again real quick in the chat?
Nah, I'm good. But I was just asking. Nah, I mean, I'm good, but like, I just have a question for FBA. This is a Q&A, right?
Take a step back. All right, we're going to answer your question, but where are you from?
I'm Nigerian and Jamaican. I'm both.
Congratulations.
You hear her? Did y'all hear her? She said she's Nigerian, Jamaican. Let me know if y'all can hear her. and him talking.
Yeah, you reside in Nigeria or Jamaica?
Nope.
Congratulations. You hit the lotto.
Sorry, did you say reside?
Yes.
Temporarily, yes.
Congratulations. You hit the lottery. A lot of people want to be where you at.
Listen to listen to this guy's his sarcasm. You know what I mean? Listen to him. A lot of people want to be where you at. Congratulations. Like he think he's like Tariq then taught these people really. I don't even want to say well. I mean, he's brainwashed them.
No, I want to be in Canada.
Dream big.
I'm going to be in Canada soon.
Dream big. What's your question?
My question is, why do FBAs talk badly about Africans?
Talk about?
Like, should I describe how they talk about Africans? Or
okay.
Can I or no?
You asked me a question.
All right, so instead of talking about Africans, why do FBAs talk about delineation?
Instead of talking about Africans,
why
do we talk about delineation?
No, why do you guys talk about Africans instead of talking about?
Real quick. Is English your second language?
See, instead of like, he wants to make mockery of her. He wants to make fun of her. He knows exactly what she's trying to say, from my estimation, but he wants to be obnoxious and rude. And for people who can do that type of thing, there's a lot of hurt in them to just do it. And I'm not saying we all can't be a little something at times, but this is his way of operating. If you find out, like he doesn't turn it off.
English, my second language. You could say that, yes.
I can tell. Okay, so look, what you're asking me.
He can tell.
Is instead of focusing on Africans, we should be focused on delineation. Is that what you're trying to say?
I'm asking why they're not focusing on delineation. Like, why is it the topic about them? When anything they're talking about is Africans or Caribbeans, why not like delineation? Because I thought that's the whole point of the group, right? That was the whole point of the FBA group. Is it the lineage, right? It's a lineage. It's a lineage, right? But I've never heard of FBA talk about lineage or delineation.
Lady.
He said it's not a group, but the reality is, on his very platform, he has FBA ideology right there. I mean, come on now.
Lady, you asked a question, and before you got the answer, you kept talking. Thank you, Sam. I was waiting on you.
What's the question? Sorry,
he kind of reminds me of that guy FBA Ron. You know, if you listen to him, they use the same tactics they learn from one another, and they're not intelligent as they think. They think these are intellectual like traps that they do. I don't know what they're doing. I don't know. It's very disingenuous, perhaps even. Like there's something going on there. I'm just trying to show you the hurt and the pain. Let me just stay there.
Did ask the question. So what's my answer? What's the answer you're going to give me?
Well, we talk about them because they're standing in the way of our progress. So we have to delineate from them.
They're standing in the way of our progress. So we have to delineate from them. Now listen how it begins to go into this very oppressed and victimized type of mindset. It's very clear. I want you to see that the hurt and pain, the fear, and all that is there. It's all of, like, you can just go to any of them and you can hear the fear and the pain.
Simple.
You don't have respect for me like you have respect for Dan?
See, in America, this might be a little difficult for you to understand.
He said, in America, this might be a little difficult for you to understand. He continues to take shots at this system.
Living in a democracy.
Oh, it's not. I understand English.
Cool. Well, I'll let you keep up then. So I'm glad you keep up. Mods, thank you. All right, cool. So in America,
I'm not, I know you think I'm stupid, but I'm not.
Congratulations.
Yeah.
Mods.
He think that his fake composure keeping is something that, like, yeah, I'm keeping my composure. Congratulations. You can probably, this guy's probably one of those guys, if you look him up further enough, he probably is one of those manospiric guys. I mean, and I was told, and that, you know, because they go from these different extreme groups to these new extreme groups, because there's a lot of pain.
Thank you. Okay, cool. So in America, we have a process to get things done. You have laws, you have representatives. They take these things up, they propose them, they get passed into law. Reparations have been on the block for us for a long time. The biggest opponents of it are people from...
So, and he's trying to speak condescendingly down to her, but he said the biggest opponents. Now listen to this. Listen to this. This is a lie, by the way, but just listen to him.
The opponents of it are people from the Caribbean and the continent of Africa.
And where did he get that from? The biggest opponents of reparations is from the Caribbean and Africa. What? Are you serious? Like, he's going to overlook all the data that most white Americans typically don't, and there's not even really any clean-cut data to support what he's saying. And even when we look at how Caribbeans and African migrants vote when they come to the United States, is consistently similar to who he's calling FBA. They vote similarly to African Americans.
So they have decided that because they have the same hue as us in some cases.
And even the thing is, like, when you think about it, they talk about this flat blackness, and he'll probably speak about it today too. So how does you have to ask him the question? So if you say it's all this flat blackness going on, and they pull us all together in this research, and sometimes research is done like that. So where are you getting your data from? If the blackness is as flat as you're saying it is,
and they can then speak for us, and we're saying they can't. For that to happen.
So now remember, they're the worst. They're the worst opponents. They're against reparations, which is a lie, which is a fallacy.
On paper, we have to delineate, because if you don't, they get all of the same benefits that we fought and bled for without having to fight and bleed for them.
You hear?
They get all of the same benefits that we fought and bled for without having to fight and bleed for them. And then they come and they have little Nigerian, Jamaican children like yourself who come and try to agitate us.
So they try to come and agitate us. So this is what I'm saying. This is a victimized mindset. They have little Nigerian and Jamaican children that try to agitate us. They're trying to take our benefits that we fought and died for, as if historically that Caribbean and other migrants haven't also fought along with us. I'm not saying in greater numbers, because of course this isn't their primary residence, but for those who have been here, they have fought for us. As are there a minority group of them also fighting on the other side that is similar to a minority of us who live in America also fighting on the other side? A lot of times they're making these critiques of people who have these very ultra conservative perspectives, but not knowing that they even study the African American, or what they call FBA, which I denounce, FBA conservative perspectives. So it's like they again, FBA ideology, which he says they're not a group though.
You guys, people from the Caribbean and the African nations, actually started delineating first. See, we were the ones saying, hey, we're all black, we're all black, we're all black. And they would say the same thing too. Then they started winning.
So now listen, we all say we all black, and then they all start saying the same thing too. You hear that? See, he said something that a lot of them wouldn't even say, but now he said we're all saying the same thing too. But then what?
Wards. And all of a sudden,
now listen to this. Listen to this. Slow down and listen to this. This is the most petty and most victimized perspective, and they all say it. Listen to this. And they somewhere in their mind, like, I really believe that this is his hurt and pain, because it's such a idiotic type of response. It's embarrassing. It's very embarrassing. Listen to what he says.
And all of a sudden, I want to thank Haiti. I want to thank Jamaica. I want to thank Costa Rica.
That's where they're from. Where should they think?
So again, so he says all of a sudden we were all one, and then they win an award. And when they go on and win this award, they want to thank Jamaica. They want to thank Puerto Rico, whatever. They want to thank the Congo, whatever. So now, this is what he's upset about. Where it doesn't make any sense at all. It doesn't make sense. Because the reality is, and it's probably not even totally true, but if you have parentage and lineage from other places, why not? Because in America, see, American Black people, we don't claim the U.S. like that either. We don't just say, if we won an award, I want to thank the U.S. Who does that? What American awardee for a Grammy say, maybe one, maybe somebody who's very like conservative or like a little lost, maybe they'll start doing it now. But what Black African American says, I want to thank America? They don't. First of all, they definitely don't say, I want to thank the USA. So, see, that America will also be a continent quite similar, right? But what we do in America is we claim our hoods and our cities and our regions. Shirley just said it. They will thank their hometown. You see, my hometown, my hat. We will thank our hometown, just like they would thank their country. And lots of times they won't thank their hometown because they're outside their country. But if they were in their own country, they would thank their hometown. And maybe they sometimes will say Kingston, shout out to Kingston, but they'll say Jamaica first, or or Port-au-Prince, or something like that. But the reality is they'll say Haiti. See, but when you are struggling with certain levels of trauma, you resist to understand with clarity. So again, what he says is still coming from this very victimized. See, we all the same, he says, until they win an award. So what he's saying is, I'm so hurt by the fact that these people call up their country. I'm so hurt by this. This is foolishness. This is hurt. This is pain.
That doesn't make any sense.
Thank you. They start thinking all these other places. That is a form of delineation.
That is a form of delineation, he's saying. Again, that's crazy.
Then they start saying shit like, oh, we ain't got no culture. Black Americans have no culture, blah, blah, blah.
The reality is, Black Americans say they ain't got no culture. The reality is, and when they say that, they mean something else. And obviously, there's Africans that say they don't have culture now, Frank Zanou. But there's even some of the greatest African-centered thinkers that would argue against this culture, this idea of culture and what it truly is and what cultures we're truly practicing. So that's a very complex discussion. And I tell y'all, somebody tried to take up for Busta Rhymes and say he wasn't talking about Black Americans, but he was. He doesn't have to say Black Americans, but I checked him on his ignorance. Now, he can be ignorant. That's okay. Now, I'm wondering if he came back and clarified anything. I'm not sure. I won't hold it against him because I understand that people can be ignorant. But will you get stuck in that ignorance? You know what I mean? When there's new information that you come up against. Race first, brother president. Okay, so let's go. Let's keep going with this guy.
Cool. So all we're saying is, you guys are right. You guys are from Jamaica. You guys are from Nigeria. You guys are from Costa Rica. You guys are from Dominican Republic. You guys are from Haiti. And we're from America. You guys are.
And they know that already. And we know that already. We know that we're African Americans. And we know that those people are from the Dominican. And they might become Dominican American. Or they might become Jamaican American. Or they might just call themselves just Jamaican. Just like we call ourselves African American. Or what have you. It's okay.
Right. Now that we're saying the same thing they're saying, they're upset because once we get to the point where we're saying you guys you and we're us, that means no more gravy train.
So the fact that on an award show, someone said, I want to give a big up to Jamaica. I want to give a big up to Nigeria. Now we got delineate. Because on that award show, you were supposed to say the USA. You were supposed to say something else. You weren't supposed to say, you weren't supposed to give no love to your people out of the places where you came from that people see as not having anything that is worthwhile. We know why they doing it when we use our brains or when we overcome our trauma. Just like I know why I represent Baltimore, because everything from Baltimore, people see and they think of Baltimore, they think of The Wire. They think there's nothing that good can come out of Baltimore. Then I also represent my neighborhood. Big up to St. Lucia. I represent my neighborhood because they also say that nothing good. But I know that I know the people in my community are good people. I know they are brilliant people. I know all of that. But again, this is FBA ideology, according to this guy. What is his name, y'all? What's his name? Let me see his name again. His name is Daniel. And Daniel's starting to get some views, y'all. He put his little blazers on and he go in there.
That means they can't hop on a forum and say Black/African American and get the same benefit. That means they get treated
Black/African American and get the same benefit. Yeah.
like any other immigrant. So you guys actually started this. We just saying we agree.
These are the same people that said that we don't get any benefits as being African American, like the Asian whatever bill and this bill. We don't get these benefits, but now they're trying to hold on to our benefits. Brother Proper Perspective says FBA likes to defend the flag, the same red, white, and blue that they. What does he say? That D is them reparations, held our ancestors in bondage and denies our rights. Okay. Yeah, so y'all going back, y'all having dialogue in the chat.
It's that simple. Zoe Sedala started her career all playing American Black women, Foundation of Black Americans, her whole career, her entire career. The minute she won an Oscar, she started eating tacos, nachos, and empanadas and all types of shit. I'm like, what the fuck? She had tequila on stage and a sombrero
So you don't
shit.
have to cuss.
You said what now?
I said you don't need to cuss to talk to me.
Oh, okay. So I shouldn't say
The
shit
cuss.
like what did I say that was offended?
You don't need a cuss. Just talk normally. Just talk.
Like what did I say? So I shouldn't say like shit, damn.
Talk professionally, man. Right?
How about this?
He shut the fuck up.
That
Nah,
sound better?
Put bitch
Nah,
ass
I'm
on my
good.
face.
Mods,
I'm
please.
good.
Thank you. So what y'all just
You see how you see the level of maturity. And I'm hearing words on the street that people are judging people's maturity, but these are the people that they align themselves with. These are the labels that they term themselves as. FBA ideology. FBA, he says Mr. What's his name again? Daniel is speaking to FBA's ideology. You know what I mean? Thanks, Daniel.
I just saw there was she realized, damn, I'm cooked. See, I can say what the fuck I want to say when the fuck I want to say it. This is America, baby girl. Second Amendment. First Amendment. Say what I want to say. Second Amendment guarantees me that right. As foundational Black Americans, we have always helped everybody out. That quota was 100 people per year. They were letting into the country. 100 people. Then we said, yo, you got to switch this shit.
I'm going to skip past him, family. Y'all, you know, I'm going to get past. I just want to show you that about him. And then I want to go and show you, let's see if I have another one on him. Now look at this. I want to bring this forward from what I was speaking about last week. It's when I spoke about what's going on over there on Brother Rich's channel and how the pseudo-Afrocentrists or African-centered people are the gateway to this type of madness as well. The pseudo-African-centered people, not the real ones that I was speaking about earlier. We have to be able to distinguish between what is African-centered truly and what is not. And until we do that, we'll continue to have, to struggle. And a lot of times the reasons why we struggle to distinguish between true African-centeredness is because, and that which is not, in pseudo-African-centered thought, is because we find the pseudo-African-centered thought fun and it serves as a way to escape. And hence, that's why we have these same type of people who will escape into different identities because they never really was steeped in what we call African-centered thought. As again, Dr. Asante says that in his book again, he says, this is why we can see people who look the part of African consciousness, but whose actions defy Africa. The idea that blackness is an ethical idea has not yet become real to them. See, and then you see this same guy, and this is what he's dealing with. Now look for the clues. Like I showed y'all last week, that these people were once a part of the pseudo-African-centered community that we're going to continue to talk about. I'm sorry, brothers and sisters. I know that y'all don't like it, but again, I'm trying to help us. We love the pseudo-African-centeredness, which is not helping us. If you want to give your children a fighting chance, you will put down the pseudo-African-centered thought like you put down that white Christ. You hear me? You will put down that pseudo-African-centered thought like you thought you put down that white Christ. Carrie says, I'm 51. You lie. Oh, I don't know what y'all talking about. Let me get out of there. But check this out. All right, tell me, what's the clue, family? What's the clue? What's the clue? Y'all see it? What's the clue that he's a pseudo-Afrocentric reject? That he went through the so he's speaking all that stuff, but look at him. He's speaking all that stuff, but look at him. What's going on? What's happening here? He's another one who's anti-Pan-Africanist, anti-African-centered. I would imagine just from the words he was using and the way that he was dealing with his sister, with parentage from Jamaica and Nigeria. Come on, y'all, talk to me. Y'all talking in the chat to each other. I'm trying to have a conversation with y'all in Dawes Lecture Hall. Come on now, come on. All right, come on. We gotta participate, y'all. What do y'all see? All right, y'all, look, do I have to tell y'all? Can y'all see it? Come on now, y'all. Stop fighting so bad. Don't get so caught up with Ursa Mahan. That's just the good fight that she needs to be in to get her supply. You know what I mean? Because I keep trying to tell y'all, when people struggle with certain levels of trauma and personality, you think that chaos is something like they look chaotic and worn out and tired and frustrated, but they actually thrive in chaos. They don't feel alive unless there is some chaos. And they are afraid to trust people, but they don't feel alive unless there's something chaotic going on. So they go in, they conjure up different forms of supply of chaos. For the proper perspective, you said they are the same. I don't know what you're talking about. What are you saying there, cuz? Y'all not talking. All right, so look at the guy's chain. Look at his pendant on his neck. His pendant on his neck. No. Y'all can't see it.
The thing, right? And shout out to Hada 420 for that. Yo, here's the thing. When it comes to foundational Black Americans and white supremacy, we
see his unk. You see the unk on his neck and all this, all this other stuff going on. That's how you know that they were pseudo-African-centered rejects. I don't even have to go that far. But let's just listen to him real quick and let's keep moving.
We've been destroying them. So much so, we forced them to outsource their hatred to other groups. Amaro Fido, aka Myron Gaines, is a sub-Saharan African who hates foundational Black Americans. You got Nicholas J. Fuentes, Mexican, hates foundational Black Americans.
So he finds these individual examples of people, and I don't even really follow him that much. I just know the guy, whatever his name, Myron Gaines, is just out of his mind, just in general. To now use these extreme examples as the representatives of entire populations of people.
We have put so much pressure on these people that they have to hide who they are. Think about that. Oh, these we put that much pressure on them. We forced them underground.
So, okay. So I just wanted to show you again that my man is a pattern going on. These comedic names, these extra comedic names too. It lets you know they was way up in there. My man got an unk on. I can imagine, he was extreme with that because extreme personalities do extreme things no matter where they go. And so let's look at my next clip. Let's see what I got up next. Let's see. So I brought you this sister last week. I brought you her last week. And she spoke about how she's speaking about this Black American stuff right now. And this is a young sister. And she spoke about how she was brought up in the African-centered household. And I told, and a lot of us, there was a lot of discussion about whether or not she was being honest. And I think Mr. K was coming for me. Mr. K, we can still debate that one. I definitely think that she did grow up in some form of African-centered thought. And as I thought, I think it was some pseudo-African-centered thought. You know what I mean? And so she's extreme. She's extreme, if you remember her.
Because I hate having to include them when I say y'all too. I'm not supporting y'all's businesses either. Only Black American business and how I really stand on that, because I didn't realize how much they don't like us. Not knowing that a lot of Black Americans paved the way for y'all to even be able to come down here and do what the fuck y'all doing now. Nigga, it's because of how we fought for.
Yeah, so this is her. And, again, if you recall her, she doesn't have any unks or chains or anything on, but I'm going to show you later. I'm going to show you a little later how I tie her back to pseudo-Afrocentrism. So again, I know we don't want to call out the pseudo-African-centered movement, but I'm going to tell you that those pseudo-African-centered people are partly responsible for what we got here. And you can't deny that a lot of them, I'm not talking about the Dr. Benz. I'm not talking about the Dr. Ivan Van Sertima's. I'm not talking about Dr. Clark's. I'm not talking about the Remember Our Knees. I'm not talking about the no, these are people I would argue you should study, even though you should evolve your work to more modern day African-centered work. A lot of the work is actually, you have journals and articles and papers and people in academia and doing great works as a result of the work of our elders and ancestors. We have people doing work in the communities as a result of our elders and ancestors. I mean, there have been some bots on my page today. I don't know if Ursa, I guess, Ahan, I don't know how to say your name. It almost sounds Kemet. Ursan Satepan Ramayat. You know, you might be Kemetic too, Ursa. Let's see here. We here in the chat room are very tolerant to fools like, okay, all right. Take it easy on Ursa. Don't call them out of their names too much, not directly. We can call some things collective foolishness, right? Because we're here in Dawes Lecture Hall, really, we're about healing. You know what I mean? And healing hurts. You know what I mean? So let's get back to our sister, beautiful young sister. But and I really do honestly feel for her, honestly, as you see when I'm going to show you. Because I did want to pick up on a part 2, and I want to show you like where this Pretendian stuff come, this Pretendian integration into these African-centered spaces, like Brother Rich. You know what I mean? Like all that going on. But this sister,
shit, nigga, we fought for these shit. Like, nigga, women couldn't even.
Again, this is the hurt and pain that I'm talking about. Again, the hurt and pain, the trauma, the anger, the resentment, the frustration. Keep in mind, I'm talking about the fragmented thoughts. See, she's fighting like almost for her life because she feels like a victim. But again, that didn't start there. It's just a result of something. I don't know what it is. I'm just saying, unless she's just, look, she could have a perfect world. She could be an actress, all I know. But she's a good actress if she's doing it. So she's a case example here today on a social level.
Vote, none of that. Everything that Black Americans are even able to do, we have to fight. Blood, sweat, and tears. Our ancestors fought for that shit. And y'all want to come down here like y'all better than us? Nigga, y'all really need to be saying thank you.
Who is she talking to? She's talking to a whole group of, like, she's talking to Africans, Jamaicans, all the Caribbeans, the Trinidadian people, the people from St. Lucia, the people from Barbados, people from St. Croix, Bahamas. She's talking about people from South America that are Black identified and so forth and so on. She's just talking about everybody. But I wanted to show you that because, again, I'm gonna show you this lady again. I'm just gonna give you a refresher. I don't know. I'm not gonna play the whole video, but I want to remind you of these FBA and these FBA Afrocentric, pseudo-Afrocentric converts.
Why would you then celebrate escaping and leaving slavery with the very people who...
I showed y'all her chain. Like Brother Rich has on his hat, the Eye of Haru, because he's like a pseudo, and I'm not saying that everybody who wears these things, because I wear But what I'm showing you is this connection that we have to be very careful about, even those who claim to be African-centered, like Dr. What's my name? Dr. Malefi Asante says, and I'm keep going back to this book because as he wrote, those who are conscious of oppression, who are stuck there, he says that's why we can see people who look the part of African consciousness, but whose action defy Africa. And I'm going to show you that this young lady is absolutely fit. She fits the bill of what he's talking about. I'm going to show you that she fits the bill, that this other lady, you can just see her. She defies the conscience right now. Her name is Voodoo Doll TV. That's her channel, I guess. And she defies it all the way.
Put you in it. If until a Pan-Africanist can explain that to me, y'all niggas is slow as chalk.
So again, that is what Dr. Malefi Asante is saying. He said it. He said it over maybe 3 decades ago, but at least 2 decades ago, almost 3 decades ago, even in the extended and the revised and expanded version. He said it over 3 years ago. Again, I like to go back because I'm recursive. I try to connect the dots. Again, he says this is why we can see people who look the part of African consciousness, but whose actions defy Africa. The idea that blackness is an ethical idea has not yet become real to them. It has not yet become real to them, right? It has not become real to them. And again, she has the name and she has the chain. She has the name and she has the chain. She has the pendant. But look at her behaviors, as Dr. Malefikini Asante speaks about. The behaviors don't match up to this ethical standard of what it is to be African. And I'm going to say African-centered.
A whole group of people sold y'all into slavery. Now you going to celebrate getting out of slavery with the people that put you in it?
She's talking about the Africans again, y'all. She don't want them. She's talking about, she's not worried about the white people celebrating with you. But she's talking about people from Ghana and so on and so forth. I'm done with her. I just wanted to give you an example. You saw her chain and you see her name, Voodoo Doll TV. You know what I mean? So that's what we got. We got these examples of what Dr. Santi has written about. That's what I'm saying. We should never be confused, and we should have some level of empathy for our lost brothers and sisters. They're lost. It's not just religiously lost in different ways. People have, as he said, they can put on the garb and be lost. They can change their name and put on the chain, but still be lost. And that is what I'm arguing here today. And I'm also arguing that the pseudo-Africentrism is a part of the problem, because pseudo-Africentrism doesn't help people get grounded. They get caught up in the ethers. They get caught up in the ethers, so they're never, ever grounded in anything real, substantial, and true. They'll rather listen to Phil Valentine, but they can't stand a Dr. Clark. They'll rather listen to Bobby Hemmett, but they can't listen to Dr. Marimba Ani. And Dr. Marimba Ani comes from a whole spiritual perspective. So it's just not as fanciful. She says that her spirituality is political, and she brings in ancestor communion and so other ideas, and she talks about her spiritual system as political, because that is what we need for our liberation. If we are to have any spiritual system, it has to be political and not a form of escapism. And that is what Brother Rich, Brother Booker T. Kaba Cabernet, and a lot of our brothers, people I love, we get stuck in these apolitical spiritual systems where we just say, kumbaya, we are the world, we are the children. I forgot how to go. How's it go? We're saving our own lives. I forgot how it goes, y'all. But nonetheless, y'all get the point. So, all right, let's get back to my sister here. And we're going to go through her. And I'm going to show you her page here. I think I got a few. I'm not going to go through all of them. But she got this one. And this is going to give you more idea of what I'm speaking to when I say that you can tell she's caught up in the metaphysical realm.
So I feel like it's a lot of things that I just want to come on here and say real quick. I feel like God been giving me a lot of prophecies through my dream, and I feel like I haven't been talking about the prophecies enough as far as when it comes to our people and what we're supposed to do to be sticking together. So I feel like the dreams, if you go back on my page, you're going to see like a lot of the dreams that I talked about that, throughout the years, and a lot of videos that I made about dreams. I got to make a long story short and get to the beans and rice of the video. Beans and rice is my main course meal, but let me stop getting off topic. We need to be more prepared than we are being prepared. It's this dream. It's this video I basically made. If you go on my timeline, if a lot of people, enough people want to see it, I'm going to pin the video. But basically talking about how it's literally Black Americans versus everybody else in the world. And
she's public with this. And I want us to love on our family. I'm just trying to show you what Tariq Nasheed and others are playing on. What the metaphysical community, Afrocentric metaphysical community, so-called, are playing on. Let's see what I see Carrie cussing up in here. What Carrie cussing about? C at Dr. Dennis S.R. Winkler. That's that BS I was referencing. She raises her ideas drawn from dreams and extends that foolishness as knowledge. Yes. And the sadness is that I really feel for my community. That's just, because I think like she really, I think again, I think she's kind of like lost and trying to find her way. So, I mean, I think we should show her love, some African love. But again, she's got duped by these. Somebody's playing on her hurt and pain. She says she grew up in an African household in Guza Saba, and then these ideas got planted and intertwined, and she was taught to raised up to learn this African-centered way. So and she's bright, but there's a lot going on that to the imagination. But she's out here pushing videos on TikTok, and her video on TikTok, no, not TikTok, and TikTok and what's the other one where she got more views on it? The what is that called over there? X. So they create this space, man, and this is what I'm saying. This metaphysical, I'm not saying there's no such thing as metaphysical, but this pseudo-Afrocentric metaphysical stuff is also hurting us. And it is a gateway, quite like Rich spoke about Kaba Kabane being, to crazier ideas. And again, she says she believes, if I rewind what she said, I'm going to say what she said right before I paused it, is that it is us African American, oh no, what she probably called FBA or Black Americans against everyone. Against everyone, she said. And that came out by way of her dream, that it's us against everyone. Hold on, y'all. I want to move this. Okay. All right, so let's do it again.
Low-key scary because people are coming on there and they start to like talk about and tell their dreams more, and all of our dreams are similar. Like it's literally a prophecy. And basically how this whole shit that we going through is going to be took over by the military, like be took over by troops. Basically, like I'm trying to sum the dream, a long story short. It's basically saying how like Black people are going to be running for the rest of our lives if we don't stand up right now. We're going to be running for the rest of our life. It's going to be to the point where people are going to be paid to capture and kill a Black person. These are prophecies and dreams that God really wants me to get out there. People are going to be allowed to kill, even though we know, obviously we know that they're allowed to kill Black people right now, but it's going to get worse. Like I'm talking about, like we're going to be so monitored and recorded to the point where there's nowhere we can escape. Like a lot of the dreams consisted of different things, because it was different dreams. ICE, military troops. A lot of us, the dreams was like Black people basically running from every race, every other race. We were running and hiding. I'm tired of running. I feel like the main thing God want me to push out there, I don't know if this is exactly it, but what I took from that dream is we have to be prepared in more ways than one. Because
see, again, we are like I would take that we as a collective are failing our children with this getting stuck in these fictitious realities, these fake identities. It is very difficult to come back from this. This sister, I'm trying to talk in a way that's, I think we need to show her some care. And she's just one version of it. And it, you know, and I won't play anymore because honestly, to some degree, I'm not even really comfortable with that. But this is just an example of how dangerous it truly is. It's so dangerous. But I need to show you just a few examples of now why I say these identity politics are problematic, because they never stop there, especially with people that are extreme. They go from manosphere to this one to colorism and all the different things. It's this intersectional, this victimized way of liberal white and also conservative white framing that has us looking at things such as ethnicity or place of origin. Even if you're Black, this lack of race first critical cultural analysis that leads people to end up in places like this. The sisters, from my estimation, I don't know her, I never met her, but from what she's doing on these videos, she looks very, very confused, and she looks like she probably needs some care, really, and it's not funny. But this is an example of what's going on in our community. So we have to fight back and fight harder for our children, for our youth, as someone started off the show today, for our future generations. She's online, family. And these are the things that is being spewed. This is another clip. And this is what I'm saying. It doesn't have an endpoint. The victim, when you have the victimized mindset, it doesn't have an endpoint. It doesn't stop. It just has us turning on each other in all the ways we can. And not to say there's not any truthfulness to it, but it doesn't have an endpoint, because we become so steeped in our victimhood.
Lighter people in the Black community, because I just got a lot of shit on my mind, and I'm just saying everything.
And this is not atypical. I hear these fights all the time, but you can see the hurt and pain. Again, starting with that other young brother. That brother, he's fighting. He's fighting, you know, Africans because they named their country, or Caribbeans because they named their island or their country.
Who's this light-skinned creator come over here that asks, like, why do dark-skinned people hate us so bad? Why do dark-skins feel some type of...
So again, here you have now another argument going on. It's speaking about colorism.
way about the lighter-skinned people. Why do, you know, A, B, and C? So I really got a real question. When y'all have... I know y'all say all the things, oh, Black people are jealous, they're darker people.
And she said Black people are jealous. Then she fixed it and said darker people. Because this is another war in our community that we don't want to really realize, that everybody involved is being hurt when it comes to us. Even if like, it's this idea that because she's going to talk about it, because you're light skinned, you get this certain amount of privilege, and because you're dark skinned, you don't, and because of this and because of that, and all these type of things. Like, the reality is she's not the darkest person either. There's somebody darker than her that's going to say she has privilege, and she probably hasn't even realized that yet.
Are jealous, they're insecure, people think that we're better, so they feel some type of way at us for it.
As one of the brothers here, Bob Imhotep, often says that colorism is racism.
When y'all say dumb shit like that, this I'm gonna just make it short and sweet. When another light-skinned person or an individual as yourself explains to you why things are the way they are, and explains to you how colorism is real, and explains to you that light-skinned people do have a certain advantage and a certain privilege over.
And this happens in every identity category, especially with these feminist liberal ideas that, see, the privilege word was throughout there. So in essence, now when you feel a little darker, your goal is now to get lighter skinned African or Black people to agree with you about you being more victimized. And to me, I think that's just troublesome. I mean, that war never stops. It's like, okay, I think we, even to the degree we can acknowledge certain things, but it's so complex. But again, it's racism that we're talking about. See, we lose focus and we lose focus and we turn on each other. And we think we're fighting a good fight, but we're fighting the wrong target many times.
For darker skinned people, why don't you believe them? Like, if your fellow light-skinned person in the community is explaining to you and telling you, y'all don't never reply back to their comments, but if a dark-skinned person comes and explains the exact same thing, you deem it as jealousy, as this, as that. Why wouldn't another...
Thank you, Brother Cute Butter. Peace and power with letting the family know. Please smash the like button, family. Like, subscribe, and all the different things. Hype it up if you listen to this later.
A light-skinned person can literally tell you, stop faking. We do have more privilege. Because come on, let's be real. Anybody who is closer to the white race is going to have more privilege. Like,
so again, now we get in this argument about who has more privilege. And the fact is, just to be real frank, it's quite hard for some people who find themselves to be light-skinned to feel like they have more privilege when they feel like they're in the same circumstances. It's also difficult for them to feel that way when they feel like they worked hard for whatever they believe they achieved. It's a real tricky thing, but there's some truth again to certain things. But it's also true that this type of racist system spares no one when it comes to you being Black. I've worked with people from all kinds of hues and the trauma that they all experience. I was seen as the favorite. That one was seen as the favorite. That's happening at the family level. Now, because this person was seen as the favorite, now they had to be punished by those who weren't seen as favorite. It's like, it's so complex.
let's just stop faking, bro. Even if you're Black, if you are mixed or closer to the right race, as far as like finer hair, a lighter skin complexion, if you are not passed in the paper bag test, then you know what I mean? Like, come on, like, let's be real. Like,
so again, I just wanted to show again that once we get into these victimized, oppressed frameworks, we find all types of ways to make ourselves, to identify how we're more oppressed, and there's all these different ways, and everybody can get the smoke. Everybody becomes the enemy. So it's not, you know, I'm just showing you. So the same sister here who was fighting about Black immigrants, being a victim of Black immigrants, is now fighting about being a victim of what do you call it? Of colorism. And I'm not saying that there's no reality and that we don't speak about these things, but there is way more nuance than what we care to really have the discussions around. And if she identifies, let me see. I'm looking for this one other one. And I think she started out with Asians and this boycott. Let's see what she got here.
Anti-Black as a Black person gets you left right along with the rest of them. You see what Harriet did. I see other being anti-Black as a Black person gets you left.
Hold on, y'all. I'm trying to find this
other races.
Okay, here we go. Let me now it doesn't stop there. And I'm only going to play a little bit of this because I'm just trying to show you how when you get into these frameworks where they victimize frameworks, how easy it is that you just become a victim to everything. And this is what liberal frameworks do. And they seep down in our community. I'm not sure if this system gone to academia or what have you. This is what liberal, feminists, even conservative, manospiric, or, you know, all these type of frameworks, these white frameworks that don't have an African-centered analysis, they collapse into this type of stuff. The sister says she used to be African-centered. Somehow she is doing everything besides that. But again, she's Black American or FBA. And again, y'all want to say, what's her connection and what's the proof? And what's her connection to the metaphysical? I showed you where she's speaking about prophecies, but I got one more clip to show you on top of that to support exactly what I'm saying about these pseudo-African-centered scholars and the type of impressions they have on our minds. And I got in a lot of back and forth about this one that I'm going to show you, but the same system. Let me show you her page. So here you go. This one say, I'm tired of the coon, SHIT. But this one, listen, the next group that she's going to fight against.
I see other races versus Black people is how I see men versus women. If you a woman and
so now
I see other races
it's men and women
versus Black people is how I see men versus women. If you a woman and you keep being good to a man who's doing you dirty, I see other races versus.
So again, it doesn't stop. She is fighting all the battles, and I'm telling you, this is what these divisive identity politics and identity frameworks cause. And intersectionality has put steroids on it. So again, I'm going to go back here with her again.
Black people is how I see men versus women.
Men versus women.
If you a woman and you keep being good to a man who's doing you dirty, they're not going to do nothing but do you even dirtier every single time. You thinking, oh, I'm going to be a good woman. Oh, me being a good woman is going to make him change. Baby, it's not. I
agree with her that we need to set boundaries. And just because, you know, yeah, absolutely.
A bitch might make him change, but a feminine bitch, you know what I mean? Not necessarily masculine bitch, but a feminine bitch. And there's a difference. Let me stop cursing. A feminine woman, not a masculine woman, a feminine woman, because a feminine woman is the one who hold them powers because they dominate for real. And I feel like that's the same thing as being a Black person.
A feminine woman who has those powers. I'm going to tie that back to the pseudo-African-centered type of ideas. And I'm just going to
be so nice to them and kind to them and invite them to the cookouts and all that, thinking it's going to make them change. No, it's not. No, it's not.
She compared men and women, I guess. I'm thinking she's mean Black men and Black women to the same tension that we have between races.
You know, you need to stand on.
And this is why I said we got to have a race first and critical African-centered cultural analysis, because we put these things on the same levels and the same tiers, and it has us fighting everybody besides racism. And that's what happened. So you saw that. And then I'm going to go to one more clip. And now keep in mind, this is her page. Look at her handle. I think it's Beau TV. I think she might be a hairstylist or something. So, you know, send some positive energy out to our young sister, that she can, you know, she can come back to her African-centered awareness. And this is a video that she did put out on, I don't know if she did this artwork, because apparently she's some type of artist, but then she has an audio behind it that I want you to hear. Y'all tell me.
they're already divinely protected because their heart is in the right place. And that's what makes you divinely protected, if your heart is in the right place.
Who is that, y'all? Y'all tell me in the chat. Who is that? Who is that? Who is that talking behind her piece of art here? Who is that, y'all?
They're already divinely protected because their heart is in the right place. And that's what makes you divinely protected, if your heart is in the right place.
Y'all?
And a lot of times it doesn't mean
this is what I'm
they're already divinely.
I'm showing you the pseudo-African-centered connection here. Every last one of them have this pseudo-African-centered connection. Thank you, Bobby Hemmett.
Protected because their heart is in the right place. And that's what makes you divinely protected, if your heart is in the right place. And a lot of times it doesn't mean
it's Bobby
how
Hemmett.
much work you do in the community or how much you appear to be conscious. It's talking about your heart. And they're already divinely protected.
So that's one of her teachers. It looked like she posted that more recently, unless it's not the year. But it's 6/12 it was posted. Okay, so all right, so that's that African-centered connection. I've showed you all these people who are out here on social media coming for speaking from an FBA perspective. I mean, the ones I showed you, I'm not even doing a lot of hard research on this. It's not like I'm really like going around and hunting these clips down. These just happen to be the clips that comes across in the social media algorithm. When you go over to X, I found her on X, and these video clips on X get a lot more views. And somebody last week was under the assumption that sister FBA goddess doesn't get a lot of views. No, that was a new page that I was showing you last week. That sister gets mad views, a whole lot of views, and out of her FBA or in her FBA mind. A lot of views. You got what I'm saying? It's so many views that sister gets. I'm trying to figure out, it was something else that I wanted to do before I got out of here. What was it? That one. Did I have another thing I wanted to finish up with? But nonetheless, my point, family, I can't remember. I guess I can cut it short. I'm a little tired anyhow. But if anybody wanted to come in and have a conversation about any of these things, but again, I want to be clear. That's why I'm coming. That's why I'm calling out a lot of this pseudo FBA stuff. FBA is pseudo, but the pseudo African-centered things that's going on, and I've been calling that out for years. So I'm so glad I missed the Bobby Hemmett wave. Cuz you missed the Bobby Hemmett wave. I was telling people back then, and that Bobby Hemmett, look, man, Bobby Hemmett was something, y'all. I mean, and Bobby Hemmett is likable. I'm not gonna say he's not a likable person, but that type of information is not necessarily good for our minds. Diop, Dr. Winkler, are you aware of the June 30th deadline of Black African immigrants in South Africa set by Operation Ndula? Operation Ndula is like an accelerated FBA, very messed up situation. I've seen it, and me and my cousin are actually supposed to be talking about it very soon as well. So I'm not sure of the details. I just know that people with crazy FBA ideas are trying to utilize whatever type of ethnocentrism is going on in South Africa as if it's an example why FBA should still exist. I'm saying FBA shouldn't exist, and nor should that. I sound like I'm saying, should Palestine exist or Israel exist? I'm saying that no. I'm saying that all this ethnocentrism and divisiveness is going on in our communities as it pertains to splitting Black people or African people up is problematic. And I'm not expecting that we're going to be 100% perfect nonetheless. But lots of people try to utilize that as a means to argue that Pan-Africanism is a dream when but you don't have to, everybody doesn't have to come together at the same time or ever at all. It just has to be enough of us. And that's when we have a poor political idea and understanding of what's really going on. But family, I'm gonna put the link in the chat. I'm gonna read some comments before I get out of here. I thank you for riding with me today, but I'm not planning on being here long. But I did just want to give you an idea of the African-centered analysis versus a pseudo-Africentrism, FBA, ADOS, Freedmen, feminism, and victimhood politics. So, like, even when you hear the young lady, she had like feminist ideas going on in there. She had colorism going on in there. She had FBAism going on in there. She had all three of those, and then she also had the pseudo African-centered type of ideas going on. And I didn't look for this. This happened. I said, this young lady right here, what is her African-centered connection? And this is what I see. And it goes back to who? Bobby Hemmett. I'm not saying that what did she study? I'm just saying that these pseudo African-centered metaphysical ideas, frameworks, and games set us up. The young lady is saying she has prophecies about Africans, African Americans, or FBA is what she calls them, as being against everyone, and that everyone is against FBA. And she started coming up with these dreams, like something about her dream. I can't remember the details of it, but it was like just very interesting. And she was speaking to it like it's real, it exists, and this is how we should move as a people. I think the sister needs some love and care, but not just her. It's a lot of people like her caught up in these FBA pseudo-African-centered frameworks and ideas. So family, nobody came up in here. I just wanted to jump in here real quick and follow up last week and show you there's a connection and connect the dots. FBA, ADOS, Freedmen, feminism, these identity politics. I just want to continue to show you how dangerous they truly are if they don't have a race-first, African-centered, cultural, Pan-African analysis. I know I said a lot there, but I'm going to say, family, make sure you like, you share, you subscribe, and you hype the video up. I'm going to get up out of here. My wife said I was tired before I even started. But nonetheless, family, thanks for your time. Peace and power.
When you claim you're African, you're going to get your mind back.
If a generalized black woman is doing this and being this, that is that is irresponsible.
No,
when you claim you're African, you're going to get your mind
showing
back.
me,
Black and proud. Claim you're African. Black
because
and
I
proud.
think that if
when you claim you're
as
African,
a
you're going to
person
get your
who
mind
has
back.
a page,
What's the status of people
Claim
who
you're
have
Black and proud. I'm
FBA?
telling you. When you claim you're African, you're going to get your mind back.
That's why I was laughing because
Black and
I am
proud. Claim you're African. Black
I'm not
and
saying the
proud. I'm telling
framework
you.
doesn't do a thing, but
Become a part of it.
we've been
Embrace
Forward
it.
to black men
Become a
being the
part of it.
masters, being
Embrace
in
it.
control. We
Become a part of it.
Only
Embrace it.
that those one of the
Become a
best
part
stories I've
of
ever
it.
heard.
Embrace it. When you claim you're
have
African, you're going
mastered
to get your mind
that
back.
mental growth takes
Black
place.
and
You've
proud.
been
Claim
misled
you're
by
African.
leadership,
Black
for
and
instance,
proud.
that
I'm
think
telling
we
you.
can consume.
When you claim you're African, you're going to get your mind back. Black and proud. Claim you're African. Black and proud. I'm telling you.